Hello ladies and gentlemen, Pork Chopper here, back again with the second part of my version 43 opinions and discussions. Again, these videos aren't me going into like the actual patch notes, going bit by bit, but more me discussing my opinion on the changes, and I would like to know your opinion on the changes. This is the second video of two. The first video going over the hero changes which should be already uploaded on my channel, so after this one you can check it out. Doesn't really matter what order you do it in, but do let me know what you think of the version 43 patch notes so far. Do you like it or not? And again, this video is going to basically be, hey, if you want someone else's opinion and discussions on it like moi, then that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So this video we're going to be looking over the card changes. So I've missed a few things talking about what they've done to the actual game modes itself, looking at the jungle changes. I sort of described this a little bit in my hero video. So they haven't done much here. They've just basically removed Amber Link, make gold drip a bit more, changed where the green buff location is, how white minions work, but again you can check that fully. I just feel there's not really much reason to cover this. It's small little stuff across the board that can make a big difference. The only big one is the spawn schedule of minions, which means you're not going to get as big minion waves until later on in the game. But now let's be quiet about that and get to the cards and gems. So first we have the Death Affinity Awaken the Emmerich. This is a card where you could turn enemy minions in your favour. So it got a nerf, and this isn't much of a nerf, but they basically have fixed a few issues with the card where towers would target the hero after using the card, or where enemy heroes could do increased damage to the converted minions. So they fixed a few issues. I'm still not a fan of this card as a whole. I think it's just a stupid card to have, where basically you can push a wave without really knowing, and it makes split pushing a little bit more irrelevant. So I've never been a fan of this card, and I doubt I will, but again, no changes there at all. Then we have Devastation, one of the cursed cards. It's reduced the power, but has increased power per structure from 3 to 4. That means the initial stuff you get from this card won't be as strong, but it means that if you can play well with this card, meaning the more structures you actually destroy, which means enemy towers, then you're going to be getting even more power mid to late game, but means you're probably going to struggle early game with this card. Finder of Playthings, that's the card that basically you can see everyone on the map and you can slow an enemy down. What they've done here is only reduced the cooldown from 90 seconds to 80 seconds, a little change. I felt that it was a bit of a harsh cooldown. It's not an amazing card. I use it in a few decks, so that's definitely a nice thing to have. Then Grinning Spectre, which is one of the weirdest cards in the game, is the one that does true damage, and it's this really slow orb of death that you pretty much can outrun. Weird card to use. I haven't really used it that much yet. But they've increased the true damage by 350, which pretty much means if this thing touches you, you die. Because if it gets you below, I believe, again on top of my head, I believe it's 15%, it will kill you. So this thing's basically an instant kill with someone's like under half health. So it's really slow though, so a little buff there, nice needed. And then we have Lord Vault Stock, has increased the experience gained every 10 seconds from 12 to 14. However, it has also increased the gold lost every 10 seconds from 60 to 100. Again, this was a cursed card, which once you equip, you cannot unequip it. So this means that you're still going to be getting a bit more experience, but the gold cost is going to be even more drastic, meaning it really is going to be a high risk, high reward card. Then we have Nameless Curse. The only thing done there is reduce the cost of the card only a bit. They've reduced it by 1 intellect, and they've also actually increased the damage dealt per second from 60 to 65. Little change there, a little buff, and I always like that they, they're able to do these changes so much more frequent now and able to do so much more with it. Persist Spry Kin, they increased the power of it from 6 to 10. So Brook Initiate, which I probably said horribly wrong. It's been a long day. They've increased the cooldown from 35 seconds to 45 seconds. This is the card basically, I believe, where you targeted an enemy and you both drained ability damage off both of you by a certain percentage of max health. Really good, strong card, and I think increasing the cooldown was much needed. The Veiled Stepper now grants 5 power. I'm not sure if it actually granted power before, but apparently it didn't. I'm sure it must have had a stat before, but now it adds an additional 5 power. It was a card which I thought would be really, really awesome and cool. It sort of was, but it didn't turn out as amazing as I thought, so some stat changes and buffs there was probably quite needed. Then we have Warlock's Burden, increases max mana stored per second from 2% to 3%. If you've seen my video on the Shinbi, I use this in this deck. Definitely really good for a Shinbi hero, but it's just a really nice card to have. So increasing the max mana restored means that you're going to get more mana back and not lose as much health because of it. So I'm a big fan there. Again, I use this card quite a bit, so thumbs up for me. Good card. And then we have Wound Seeker. They've increased the power of the card and also increased attack speed. This was the card basically that if a hero was critically low, they wouldn't have any armor or anything. Again, a card that I wouldn't say needed drastic changing, but you know, it seems most of the fixes here, again, like the hero changes, a slight change on the slider to make it a little bit better or a little bit worse, mostly focusing on the stats and the costs of cards. Now we go on to Knowledge. Now the first two, OPD Militia and Echelon Soldier, are basically just fixing issues with the cards. Sleeper Agent, which is the one where you can silence someone and you deal your enemy, the whole of your team deal 15% extra damage. They have reduced the cast range of this card from 1,750 units to 1,100 units. I think this was the right nerf for this card. I mean, it wasn't amazing by any standards, it's a pretty good card, but nothing ridiculous. I just felt the cast range was a little bit too good, that you definitely have to get within basic attack range to be able to use this card, meaning the enemy has some more chance to sort of counter this card, or have more time to adapt to it. Soldier of Fortune, they sort of increased everything off the board. It now costs an extra 500 gold on top of the 4 intellect to buy, and it has increased bonus gold and increased bonus experience. This card I didn't really use that much. I sort of did a bit for my caster decks, then I sort of thought this card really wasn't worth it unless you're like really far behind and you need to catch up, and so you're going to play more passive. That's when this card's sort of useful. So maybe now it's going to be a little bit more beneficial, but with the cooldown being, still, I think it's like a 40-second cooldown on top of my head. So that's something where I still think needs, I don't know, I just think the 500 gold cost sort of makes the bonus gold and bonus experience sort of irrelevant. But again, it's one of those cards if you're definitely more a late game hero and you sort of just need to get to the late game ASAP and you don't care about the mid or early game. Then we have Static Trap, which they've just adjusted the cost of the card. It's one of those cards with certain heroes like Bellica, it was really cool on. Basically they've made it so it costs 1 less agility but 1 more intellect, which makes sense. It's going to be always more caster orientated, so make it more costly in the intellect makes more sense, so casters don't have to buy more agility just for this card. Nice change there. Supply Sergeant, the mana restored has gone from 125 to 150. Nice change, thumbs up, always like support cards getting buffed. Then Formaturge, they've just fixed an issue of it, and Wetware Virus now launches a homing projectile on activation instead of being instant cast. There's a few of these, and there's one going to be in the Order Affinity, which we'll literally just get into in a second. But I do like this, some things are just more homing projectiles, so people are more aware what's hitting them. Because sometimes in team fights you can get hit by stuff and you're like, okay, well, what the hell just happened to me? Why was I slowed, or why was this? So this gives it a little bit more time to react, basically. It's all about counterplay. So a lot of stuff is instant cast with cards. It's hard to counter that sometimes. And like I said, in the Order Affinity, Crippling Gear was one where basically if you targeted an enemy, it reduces their movement speed by 80%. They've reduced the cast range of it just like Sleeper Agent, I agree with, and it's a homing projectile on activation instead of being an instant cast. Gates of Salvation has just been re-enabled after it was removed. Godmother Vigilant, they've just fixed an issue where the elevated fed was calculating incorrectly, and Lightstep Vanguard have just reduced the cooldown of this card, which I believe is the card that makes you teleport to ally tower. They've just reduced the cooldown and the channel time of this card, which I definitely agree with. It's a really nice early game card, it just was a little bit too extreme, I felt. A little bit too extreme. Then we have Growth, Apex Predator. This card I really never used. It felt more of a jungle, maybe carry-ish card, where basically the longer the game goes on and the more damage you can do, the more damage you'll actually be able to get from this card. And same with the ability armor bonus at max stacks. Max stacks has been reduced, but the power scaling per stack has been increased. So I roughly mean this probably means you're going to be getting the same amount of power from it, but I'm guessing that it means you're going to be able to get that max stacks and power a bit quicker than you would usually. So more, not as much a late game card, but more a mid game card. Then the actual next proper change is Maratree. They reduced the base health regen per second from 4.4 to 2.2, but however now grant plus 50% mana regen. This isn't an interesting change. I felt the health regen wasn't that crazy, but apparently they felt it was just a little bit too good early game jungle card. I didn't really see the need of it. It was a card basically I had until I could get Tyrants, which we'll begin to in a second. Which also got a little bit of a nerf overall. But yeah, I don't really see the need of this. It was a nice card, which again you only keep just because you need it before you can get the other big boy cards. Then Tyrants, the card we were just talking about, funnily enough. They've reduced the stat power from it from 15 to 10, meaning that when you get the card in overall you won't be getting as much power from the get-go. However, it means the more stacks you get from this card killing jungle minions, they're definitely going to be getting quite a bit more power per stack at 0.75 instead of 0.4. And also they increased the max health bonus at max stacks from 150 to 200 max health. And again, with the reduced max stacks from 50 to 35, that's definitely going to be a really nice benefit, that you're going to be able to get this card fully unlocked a lot quicker into a game. Then we have Unbroken Spirits, the card that basically, I believe, after so much damage is dealt to you, it either slows the enemies around you or makes it so you restore health after hard CC. Can't remember which one on top of my head. But it increases the power from 13 to 18 and has reduced the max health, however, from 480 to 360, making a more orientated power card than health card. And finally, we have Vital Waters, a really good card now that basically buffs all healing you get and receive. It reduces max health from 325 to 265, so the core of the card stays the same, it just won't give you as much health from the card. It did cost quite a bit as well, so definitely was a mid game card, but a little change there. Then we have Chaos. Blitz Rust, they've only just reduced the cooldown from 60 seconds to 25 seconds. Oh boy, I was a big fan of this card. And now having it reduced to 25 seconds, this was basically Blink Shot 2.0. 25 seconds is a really short cooldown. I think a little bit too short. Yes, I know 60 seconds was a bit too much, but 25 seconds? Whew, that definitely is going to feel like a more needed card for a lot of carriers now, especially low mobility carriers. Compensated Rig, they pretty much increased the amount of damage dealt from 1 per 60 health minion to 1 per 55 health mission. Again, one of those cards for tanks where you're quite low in health on a tank but still quite tanky, then this card is so good for you, man. I played once with a Cyborg that had this card, had like 3,000 health or something, half health. He was literally still had a lot of health and was kind of unkillable and killed everyone pretty quickly. Love this card. Death Crawler, the only thing they've done is made the Mighty Strike attack will be removed on basic attack regardless if you hit the target. This was something before, it didn't matter, the first shot you get, you will always hit. So now that's not the case, that you do have to hit that shot, or Death Crawler will go on cooldown. Then we have June Wind. It increases the max health cost, reduced power per stack, and reduced attack speed per a stack. So they've made it so it costs more health and you get fewer rewards from it. Then we have Pressure Hunter, which increases the bonus damage per vitality point difference from 2 to 2.5. Massive thumbs up for this card. It was basically an anti-tank card, which is pretty much the meta at the moment, is a tank which can still do ridiculous amounts of damage. So I always tried to use Pressure Hunter, I just didn't feel it did enough. So now hopefully Pressure Hunter does enough. So if you have loads of tanks on the enemy team, Pressure Hunter does enough. Fingers crossed, I hope. Riot Sapper has increased the current mana removal from 20% to 25%. A card I didn't see much of, but I felt was actually could be really good again against Zinx or really any caster. Removing the current mana to 25% is a huge deal. Again, it's current, not max mana, but still, that could be enough during a team fight right at the start. From get someone from 1000 mana to like 750 mana, that could be a big difference. Then we have Nitro Boost. They've just made it so it grants power, not attack speed. It's the one that gave you a little Nitro Boost, funnily enough. And then we have Nuke Blood Mutant. Increases buff duration from 6 seconds to 7 seconds. A card I saw a lot of at the start of version 42, but hardly see much of now, is Predator, probably because it was a bit too high risk. and I do agree there that it is quite a cost, and to get even the gold back you would have invested into Profiteer was a little bit too much. So however, increased gold gained per enemy kill has gone from 55 to 60, so hopefully makes it so a bit more worthwhile, because again I saw a lot of carries using this at the start, and then everyone sort of thought actually, you know, once you work out the maths it is good, but I sort of wouldn't want to use it. I would rather just buy that gold into something else straight away. Then we have Reactive Beast, which has just fixed an issue. Thorn Jomi has been re-enabled and hopefully works this time, so it will reflect damage when activated, which I hope. I tried to do a video on this card on Cyborg, and I don't know why I was sucking so hard, and then I realised the card wasn't working. That triggered me. Unstable Cyborg. They've reduced the range of this card by a significant amount and increased the cooldown between activations from 0.5 to from 0.4 to 0.5 seconds. So that's pretty nice card there. That card again was a little bit too good on certain heroes, so reducing the range from that will resolve all the issues with Unstable Cyborg. Was not a fan of that card. And then they've gone through a load of fixes they've done with cards, and then gems. I mean, you can just look through this yourself. There's nothing major to add here. They've increased the jungle lifesteal card. Quick exit got a little bit of a nerf. Remove speed bonus is only 300, not 350, so you won't get in action as quick, but still going to be good. The biggest one is Relentless Pursuit. They've reworked it so now reduces combat slow penalty when attacking by 50% instead of removing the penalty entirely, which, you know, on carries, if you have this, oh my god, it's ridiculous that you could just move around. It means you're still able to be more agile as a carry late game. It just means you can't be a god. And that about does it. Then, you know, they go through chest changes, general changes, adding new starter decks to heroes, and of course now you can actually buy diamond chests, have the chance of dropping loot crates, reputation skins, emotes, bonus stuff, and you know, cards. And you actually can purchase cards in game now apparently, which is really, really nice. Not actual pay to win, but actual with reputation, guys, just to clarify there. And they changed loot crates a bit and a few random performance issues here. But apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. This is going to be, and again, another really long video. Overall card changes, like I said, exactly the same as the hero changes. They haven't gone too drastic on any of the cards. There's nothing I really disagree with. All the nerfs of the cards I agree with, because I'm like, they were a little bit too good. And then all the buffed cards I agree with, because I'm like, okay, this card definitely needed a little bit of buff. It feels like basically you have a slider and they want to adjust a card a little bit over time, not do too drastic with anything with the heroes or with the cards. They want to make sure they slightly tweak everything a little bit, bend it, you know, think, okay, this is a bit too good, let's, you know, reduce it a little bit. And over time that means that, yes, the balance process is going to be slow, but this definitely means it's going to be the biggest update since version 42, and hopefully it really changes quite a bit. But that means it definitely is going to take another 3 to 6 weeks before we really feel how this feels and then get actual more updates. So again, thank you all very much for watching. Again, do let me know what you think of the card and hero changes on version 43 as a whole, just from the patch notes. I personally myself can't wait to jump back into Paragon. I've taken a break from like a week, been like literally binge watching Destiny 2. Not watching Destiny 2, playing Destiny 2. Again, it's been a long day. So thank you all very much for watching. Like I said, check out the hero video if you want. And thank you all for supporting this channel. It means a lot to me. And I'll see you all next time.